At some future date, each and every one of you is going to stop being in business. Whether that day comes by choice or by force, when that day happens, your wealth will have one of three things happen. It'll continue to rise, it'll become steady, or it'll begin to decrease. The depressing truth for most of you is that when that day happens, your wealth will begin to disappear. To many of you, that might be shocking because you're so good at making money. It's likely that most of you make more money than 99% of the world population. Despite this, when you stop working, your wealth will begin to vanish. Why? Why is it that someone who's making a generational amount of income has their wealth begin to disappear the second the income stops coming in? I want you to think back with me for a second to the messaging and marketing for most of the financial industry. The ads that you see, the conversations you have, and the professionals you work with. Perhaps they sound a lot like this. Max out your 401k, or you're basically throwing away free money. Have you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Are you actually wealthy if you're not investing in real estate? Forget everything else. Use a defined benefit plan. You can put hundreds of thousands of dollars into it, and it will save you taxes. Is your portfolio academically sound and globally diversified? Because ours is. Bro, my buddy has a tech startup. It has everything, AI, quantum computing. If you're not investing in it, you're missing out. Are you still using the dollar? Boomer move. Bitcoin, my friend, is the future. Inflation-proof, it is it. No debt, ever. Put everything into a mutual fund and stop messing around with the fools in life insurance. Stock market, life insurance, my friend, is the no-loss provision, tax-free retirement, guaranteed retirement solution for you. What is the message behind all of these messages? What's the focus? Their focus is that this is a one-stop solution for creating generational wealth. Which one is right? Which one is wrong? It puts a ton of pressure on you to decide which of these is actually the route I want to go down. Another way to say this is their focus makes you believe that generational wealth is created by where you put your money or what you choose to invest in. But what if it was that hyper-focus that was lulling you to sleep? That was making you believe you were creating generational wealth, when in reality, you were just really, really good at making money. To help answer this, I've created what I call the business owner quadrant. This quadrant is going to enable you to see where you are, both as a business owner and as someone that is creating wealth. In quadrant 1, we have owner-operator. This is someone that wears every single hat in their business. Everything runs through them. In quadrant 2, we have owner-operator with employees. This is someone who's still fully and mostly engaged in the operations of the business, but they have a few employees that they can delegate things to. Quadrant 3, we have owner-leader. This is someone who's moved out of daily operations and into a leader in strategic position. Quadrant 4, we have owner-investor. This is someone who has deliberately chosen to view their business as an asset inside of their overall portfolio, and they are above the business, not inside it in any manner, shape, or form. When I open this idea up to people, they oftentimes will think, that's how I am as a business owner, which is the correct lens to view it under. But I've found that this is just as applicable to the way that people handle wealth, the way that people handle their taxes, the way that people protect themselves. So you could have someone that technically is an owner-investor inside of their business, but they're an owner-operator in the way that they handle their wealth. Let me give you an example. Owner-operators in the way that they handle wealth try to do absolutely everything by themselves. Hints that you're an owner-operator in the way you do wealth. You love the Robinhood app. You love to go buy real estate by yourself. You love to do everything on your own because you don't trust people to handle your wealth for you. You don't like assets under management. You don't like giving your money to someone because they can't do it better than you. An owner-operator with employees around taxes would look like this. I have an accountant, I give them everything, I delegate that to them, and they fix it for me. I have no idea if they're doing a good job or not, but they do it for me. If we're truly going to increase the probability that our generational income becomes generational wealth, we have to stop being owner-operators or owner-operators with employees and embrace the owner-investor mindset and behaviors, not just around our business, which is completely important, and we talked about that heavily yesterday, but also embrace it around the way we view wealth, around the way we handle our taxes, and around the way we protect ourselves. To help you visualize this even more, I'm going to give you a demonstration. As you're viewing this demonstration, the reason I'm giving it to you is because there's a probability of success when we do things. Could someone that was an owner-operator in the way they handle their wealth and the way they handle their taxes create generational wealth? Yes. It's not impossible. It can be done. But is the probability of success high? I would say no. And as we go through this, the data supports that. So let me ask a question. I'm going to ask it to Rob. So if Rob had if you were going back to the UK and your plane had a 5% chance of arrival, would you get on that plane? No. You would not get on that plane. But many owner-operators are behaving in a way that gives them a very low or a 5% chance of success. But they get on the plane anyway because they can do it better than anyone else. So I have here a jar full of pebbles. These pebbles represent the business owners in the United States. There's currently right around 33 million business owners in the United States. You are found in one of the 4 jars that I'll bring up here in just a second. This jar represents 75% of those business owners. The unique thing about this jar is that these business owners all tend to have a lot of similarities. Even though they come from all different types of industries, there are different types of genders, there are different types of races, there are different types of people, they all tend to behave extremely similarly, not only in the way they handle business, but in the way they handle their wealth. The key features of these people is, number one, none of them will sell their business. Not one of them. Most of them will not have created enough assets outside of their business to replicate their current income to create financial independence when the event of the business exit occurs. Most of them will fail to create generational wealth. In the second category, that's around 24 million business owners. This represents right around 5 million, or 15% of people. The difference between this jar and these business owners is these business owners succeed at selling their business. But the problem is that it's not at the price that they want, it's at the price that the buyer wants. And the vast majority of them will experience a deep sense of regret once they choose to actually step away. Like the business owners here, very few of them will create wealth that replicates their income, and they will live a very middle-class lifestyle when they choose to walk away. In the last 2 categories, we have about 1.5 million each. Both of these business owners will sell their businesses, and it will be for maximum value. The difference between these two is important. To review, never sell, sold but sold with regret, sold at maximum value. This is made up of owner-operators of employees, and owner-leaders. Owner-operators with employees, owner-leaders. The problem is that if I interviewed the owner-leader from this jar, and this jar, I would find little to no distinguishable differences between them. The way that this person behaved was exactly the same way that this owner leader behaved. This one never sold, and this one got maximum value. But there was no way to determine whether I was going to get the maximum value for my company or not sell it at all. So we can't reliably be in these three jars. This is 95% of business owners. And if we're choosing to be like these business owners, we're leaving our wealth to chance. And that's why most business owners fail to create generational wealth, because they've chosen a path that gives them a 5% chance of success. Don't hop on that plane. Choose to shift away from what these people are doing and choose to embrace the owner-investor mindset, not only in your business, but in the way that you handle wealth. It's usually right now when people are like, this is pretty good information, but is this dude ever going to smile? Yesterday, Rob took me over there to do a headshot, and he had to get me to say spaghetti to get my lips to open up to actually crack a smile. So know that I'm not a robot, and I actually do enjoy life very, very much, but I just can't do it yet. Someday I will get it to where a smile will just naturally appear on my face. Not today, though. So one of the first things that we have to do, because I don't have the time to go over all the different ways owner investors behave. Rob did an extraordinary job yesterday of giving you a way to think around, how can I become an owner investor in my business? And what action steps can I start taking to make that happen? I'm going to give you a way that owner investors today that you can take and start investing like an owner investor would, in the way they handle your taxes, in the way you handle your wealth management, in the way that you handle your protection. And the truth that you have to embrace if you're going to shift away from doing what everyone else is doing and shift into becoming who you need to be to create the generational wealth that you should be creating with the amount of income that you have, is you have to embrace this. The family office is the gold standard for advising. Most people would tell you the family office is the gold standard for advising because of who the advisors are inside of it. I want you to think differently about it, because I don't think it's the advisors. I think it's the environment that the family office creates that makes the family office environment is what makes the family office the gold standard. So it's not that they have better advisors that are on the table for you. It's that the environment that has been created is what will enable you to actually have the success that family offices have. And that environment is this. They have every financial professional, the accounting team, the wealth management, the protection, and the business, all doing three things over and over again. I call them the 3 C's: communicating, collaborating, consistently. Communicating, collaborating, consistently. That's the environment that makes the family office special. It has nothing to do with the advisors that are in the family office. But the amazing thing about that truth is that even though you can't afford a family office yet, you can copy that. And if you can copy that, you can start to make the results of a family office personal to you. So I'm going to show you how you can create that team environment with your wealth team so that they're communicating, collaborating consistently. So, step 1. You need to embrace the fact that you are the CEO of your generational wealth journey. Rich talked about the 3 things that CEOs do. You have to do that for your wealth journey. You need to become the fiduciary of your wealth life. No one else cares about it as much as you do. You have to take that on in your heart, that this matters to me and it matters a lot. Second, I would advise that there's 4 to 5 members of this inner circle wealth team, as I would label this. These are the 4 advisors that are going to be communicating, collaborating consistently. I would add a quarterback who makes sure it all happens. Another word you could use for that as a business person is a COO of your wealth team. They're helping you make sure that all those advisors are actually communicating, collaborating consistently. Because you're the CEO, you're casting the vision, you're telling them the direction. The COO, the quarterback, is going to ensure that everyone actually does what you want them to do. The first member of your wealth team is someone that has something to do with tax. We're going to dive into all the layers of this and we'll dive into what this looks like, but it's tax, it's wealth management, it's protection, and it's business. This is your inner circle wealth team. Communicate, collaborate consistently with these 4 to 5 people. What does consistently mean? To tell you that, let me give an experience. There's a gentleman who owns a company called Now CFO. It's a very large fractional CFO company. Is what he does to make his team collaborate, communicate consistently, is he pays all of their time and he makes them come in the same room together. He brings them into his house and makes them sit in his living room, and they talk about his wealth journey and the vision that he wants to do it. So now you have the tax person saying, the consequence of this move is X amount of taxes. The wealth person saying, I think we should do this even though we're gonna pay more taxes. The business person is saying, I think we should allocate more funds to the business because we can scale it at this much, and they're communicating in the room. And he pays for that to happen 4 times a year. You can do that inside of a Zoom room because technology makes things extremely easy, and it can last 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be a dramatic length of time. Maybe sometimes it's longer, but who is the one that sets the schedule? It's not the accountant saying, oh, we got to get everyone together. It's you as the CEO. If you can do that one thing, all of your other wealth decisions, all of your tax decisions will start to come into harmony, and things will start to become more efficient to you. So if you were going to implement one thing and you weren't going to follow, and because we have a lot more to get to and how we make this even better, if you were going to do one thing, get these 4 people talking and magic will happen for you and your business and your wealth and your taxes, and you'll feel more protected. But now is what we're going to do is, this is just step 1, because each of these things should not be viewed as a one-person job. So the tax, most people view their tax person as one person. I have an accountant, but it should be viewed instead as I have a tax team, not a tax person. So there's a tax team below that. I have a wealth management team, not a wealth management person. I have a protection team, not a protection person. I have a business team, not a business person. So if you want to take it to the next, if you want to go base level, all of those people are just one person and you'll get good results. But if you want to have maximum results and you want to become an owner investor, you need to make it a tax team, a wealth management team, a protection team. And so now I'm going to show you who should be on that team, who should you be looking for to have as a part of this organization to make it so that all the generational income you're bringing in actually transforms into generational wealth. We're going to start with taxes because that's a very pain point for a large amount of people. Most people, when they want to solve the tax problem, they always will say, tell me the strategy that I need to do to reduce my taxes. But is what that results in is, you go to a lot of conferences, you go to a lot of masterminds, you're paying attention to people, so you hear things. So one person over here says strategy 1, and then this guy over here says strategy 2, and it leaves you in a chasing mode. If you actually want to solve the tax problem, you create a tax team and the tax problem will solve itself. You don't chase strategies, you just create the team, and the team will solve the strategies for you. That way it's not on you, because owner-operators chase things. Owner-investors they leverage their team to create the solution for them. So here's who should be on your tax team. I know that's small, but I'll go over them one by one. At the leader of this tax team, this is usually the person that's going to be a part of the Inner Circle Wealth team that will be meeting with you consistently. An accountant and a tax strategist. They're 2 different types of personalities, and it's extremely important for you to realize that the vast majority of accountants are not tax strategists. Can you confirm that, Brecken? Yeah, accountants, you need to just assume your current accountant cannot also tax plan with you. They can prove it to you otherwise, and the way they prove it to you otherwise is by having this team in place. Otherwise, you need to assume that you have a tax filer who's not helping you save taxes. So if you have a tax filer who's not helping you save taxes, that means that you have to go find someone that's actually going to help you save taxes, and that's the tax strategist. So view the tax team as led by 2 people, not 1. Can it be led by 1? Absolutely, but it's rare. need to assume until proven otherwise that it's not your situation. Now, the team is created. I want to make this really clear because this can get confusing. People are like, how in the heck am I going to go find all of those people to make sure that my tax team's in place? This isn't a job for you. This is a job for your accountant or your quarterback. They're tasked to go grab all of these people, bring them to the table, allow the accountant to vet them and make sure that they're okay. You don't even have to, you're not like retaining these people. These people get paid as you take action on tax strategy, as things occur. So you're not even meeting with them. You might not ever see any of these people, but the accountant does. The accountant does the same thing that you're doing with your Inner Circle Wealth team, where they're communicating, collaborating consistently. They're doing that same thing with this group of people. But who gets them to do that? It's you. You, as the CEO, have to make your team create that way. So you're the one that makes the accountant communicate, collaborate consistently with these people. These people aren't actually on, like, you're not talking with most of them. Maybe you will periodically, but the accountant is the one that handles this. Let's just go through these one by one so we can have just a general idea of who these people are. So number one is a registered investment advisor. The reason a registered investment advisor is a part of the tax team is because there are asset classes that can be purchased that will simultaneously save you taxes or will have a tax consequence that benefits you. But if you don't have that person or someone that can do due diligence on opportunities, you are shooting in the dark and you will never take advantage of things that you could have taken advantage of that would save you a substantial amount of money in taxes. Second is tax attorneys. So there are tax attorneys that do really sophisticated entity structurings and movement of money and strategies that will enable you to save taxes. But if you don't have those people on your team, you're not going to save the money. Third is what I call tax specialists. These are people like research and development tax credit specialists that they just do that one tax credit and they execute it. Or it could be a cost segregation tax specialist that only does cost segregation. Or it could be a tax smart benefit. Like if you offer benefits to your employees, you get to save taxes simultaneously. Those are things that only affect people that they only do one job. They don't do anything else inside the tax code. That's their solution. On the back end, then we need a tax smart insurance advisor. These are people that are going to help you transform your commercial coverages into private coverages and take advantage of the tax benefits that occur from those movements. And then lastly, if you get to a level of $1 million of personal income coming from your business, you start to have the conversation on, is private placement life insurance something that we can actually implement? But if you don't have that person amongst this team, you can't have the conversation. Want to save taxes consistently for the rest of your life? Make this happen and you will never overpay taxes again. Next is, how do we construct, or who should be a part of our wealth management team? Because oftentimes the current environment is I have a financial advisor, I go to them and they just do everything for me. It's very much owner-operator with employees type of a relationship if you have someone that's helping with your investments. The problem is oftentimes financial advisors are limited by either their firm that they're with or they're really good at a few different things. So it's wise to include more than one. It's okay for people to communicate and collaborate, even if someone's going to get paid and another person isn't. So I would encourage you to have someone that's good at the public markets, someone that's good at finding and do due diligence on the alternative markets. I would encourage you to find someone that gives you the opportunity to create a foundation with cash value life insurance, specifically whole life insurance. I would find someone that's going to help you create automations. And then I would find someone that can do structured notes, which maybe Justin can talk about when he gets on in just a second. And then lastly, I would have the accountant as a part of this team. So the accountant is integrated into the conversations around the investment decisions that are happening. So the accountant is going to jump into a member of the wealth management team. Instead of being the leader, they're a member of it. This will create a portfolio and stability for you that reduces the chance of loss, reduces volatility, and improves the likelihood that your assets will grow over time and provide cash flow for you when you choose to step away outside of your business. The third team is the protection team. This is a decision that you have to make, that making and growing money is just as important as making sure that it lasts. Because you can have as much money as possible, but if one of those 6 Ds that Rob talked about yesterday, the disability, the divorce, the disagreement, the disruption, the debt, if one of those hits you and you don't have any protections in place, all of it, or most of it, or a larger percentage than you would like, will disappear, and there's nothing you can do about it. I've had many clients who have gotten divorced, and everything was gone. Like they lost everything in the divorce, and they have to start completely over again. So if you choose to embrace the fact that as I grow my wealth, I protect my wealth, when those events happen, they're minimized or completely protected or shielded entirely because of your choices around protection. So who should be on the protection team? An estate attorney, someone that's helping you create wills and trusts and put all the legal documentation in place. A legacy planner, which I actually believe is more important, and that's really the message that Rich was talking about, is all the legal documentation in the world doesn't matter if you haven't instilled the values into your children and made it actually last. So doing the purposeful work and coached on how to do the purposeful work in your family to tie it to the legal documents is just as important as the legal documents. For the level of wealth that you're at, I believe someone that can help you set up and establish a private family foundation that will allow your giving to perpetuate forever is something that should be considered, and a member of your team that allows it to just continue, where the interest that grows inside those family foundations is never going to dissipate. You will give and give and give for generations. Obviously, we have to have insurances, the long-term care, the disability insurances, the life insurances, the business insurance. All of those things need to be evaluated consistently with probably multiple people. Like usually there's specialties in the insurance space. There's usually property and casualty specialists. There's usually disability specialists, life insurance. Usually life and disability come together. Oftentimes long-term care is in there. But those things ensure that when the stuff that you don't want to have happen, or the stuff that happened to Derek happens, that you can still have income coming in and your whole life doesn't just fall apart because you don't have income coming in for 2, 6, 8 months. It keeps you sustainable. Long-term care is often neglected, but long-term care eats at people's cash and more so emotional state. But long-term care insurance can solve both the cash problem and the emotional problem, at least at some level. But if you neglect it, now you're dealing with someone that you have full responsibility over, and if you've ever had someone in a long-term care situation, it's not pleasant to deal with. And then lastly, protection this one is often neglected, is you should have multiple merchant processors. We've had clients that have had their merchant processing account shut down for months. If you can't take income from your customers for months, what happens to your business? That's a big problem. You can't pay your employees. You can't help them. You start freaking out. You start panicking. So already having a second or a third or a fourth merchant processor will alleviate that problem entirely. And the regulation around merchant processing is getting worse, not better. So more and more accounts will likely have issues in the future. So just be aware that having multiple should be seen as a protection piece for you, not as someone trying to sell you and get stuff off of you. The last team is what we talked about yesterday with Rob, is business, is where you have someone that's actively helping you increase the value of your business so that it actually can be sold. Because most businesses, as we saw, never sell. And I believe that's directly proportionate to the fact that most people just kind of assume that it's going to happen in the future. But if you actively choose I'm going to embrace the fact that I can increase the value of this, and I can do that through organic growth or through mergers and acquisition, and start viewing it above it as an investor and invest in my business. Either one, it doesn't matter. But when you choose to do that, it gives you the permission to actually have your largest asset and your biggest income generator be a part of your overall wealth journey. So I would include mergers and acquisition attorneys, a CFO. It's important to note that if you're going to get into the mergers and acquisition game, CFOs are not created equal. There are CFOs that are really, really good at like the basic accounting and giving you a vision of their financial statements. And then there are CFOs that can actually make it so that you can make projections and decide on what do we do if we purchase this business right now, what's the projections of value growth, does the debt support it, can we actually make this possible? So that CFO might have to be a different CFO than you have currently, because they might not be able to do that. And again, just like the accountant, you can't assume the accountant's a tax strategist. You need to assume your CFO is this person and not this person, because this is a very unique skill that a lot of CFOs need to develop and either don't want to develop or haven't developed, and it needs to be someone that has the ability to go do that. You need to have someone that's an operations expert. We had three extraordinary operations conversations yesterday. Someone that's helping you improve operations so that your four C's, your capitals, your human capital, your structural capital, your social capital, et cetera, are actually, because that's where the value of your business comes in, and operations is tied to that. You need to have someone that's going to help you sell it, or a broker have access to that, and then you need to have someone that is going to give you the chance to have SBA loans or get opportunities to debt, specifically if you're going into the mergers and acquisition game. So if we go back to this structure, this is the inner circle wealth team that meets with you 3 to 4 times a year. And then each of these departments does this on their own. It's going to be more than 3 to 4 times a year for a lot of them, but it's going to be a frequent constituent. But everyone's in alignment with your goal, because the leaders of each of these departments are your inner circle wealth team. But it's not their vision, it's your vision. I do want to point out something, because I think this is an important contrast. Most of you have leaders or teams that look something like this. I think this visualization will help. So if we imagine the stage as a track, a race track, and I have in lane 1 the accountant, and I have in lane 2 the investment advisor. In lane 3, I have the estate attorney or the insurance person, whoever's helping with that, and then I have the business person. When that gun fires, for the vast majority of you, the business person decides, you know what, I want to take about this innovative idea, and they run off this way, and they try and take you this direction. And then the protection person's like, I need to go backwards because we need to really focus on being safe, so they run backwards. The wealth manager's like, I just run full steam ahead, and the accountant just stands still because they're too afraid of making a decision that's going to give you an audit. No one is coordinated or in alignment. They're not running your race, they're running their race. And the idea behind creating these teams and creating an owner-investor-like team is so that they run your race, not theirs. But when you do this, things start to happen faster than you think they're going to happen. Because if you save taxes, we'll say, like, for example, let's tell a story. We have a client that Rob and Brecken and I both work with. We started doing accounting with them. We saved them a lot of money. We worked with them, I think, starting middle of last year. So they paid less in taxes, and then they got a refund check for over $200,000 from the IRS. So we saved them a whole bunch of money, but saving the money doesn't really matter unless you're going to do something with it. But if you don't have a congruent team, now that $200,000 just gets spent into the oblivion of your life. And you feel good about saving it, but it doesn't actually transform into wealth. But if you have a team that's communicating consistently, you can take that 200 grand, you can get it into assets, you can buy some protection, you can get it into maybe purchasing a CFO or a CEO or a COO or a new employee. Like, you have a lot of choices with it. But if no one's talking, that 200 grand just disappears. The family office environment that's created through a dynamic communicative team is what actually makes things happen. But you have to be willing to no longer be the owner-operator. You have to be willing to trust and leverage your time to allow your professionals not just to work for you like these folks would do, but to actually become a part of your vision. To wrap up, I just want to mention one thing, because if you embrace this, if you truly embrace the owner-investor idea and mindset, you're going to create a heck of a lot of money, both inside your business and outside your business. But I've found that oftentimes people have this thought in my mind of, don't I have enough already? Don't I already isn't it greed to want more? Haven't I reached a ceiling of how much money I've made? And I believe that idea is a owner-operator mindset. The last piece of advice, or last thing I want to imprint on you, is that owner investors don't chase money to chase money. They chase money because it gives them the permission to leave generational impact. Their generational income transforms into generational wealth, which gives them the permission to leave generational impact. Let me just tell you a quick story of how I learned this lesson and then how you can learn it. My great-grandfather was a bomber pilot in World War II. His name was George West. He was as highly of a decorated pilot as you would find during the era. He flew 26 successful missions. A week before D-Day, he was on a bombing mission over Leipzig, Germany. This particular mission, they encountered heavy Nazi resistance. Amongst the fray, tragically, 2 of George's in-plane gunners were killed. The plane was so badly damaged that George, despite all of his past success, all of his knowledge and ability of previous missions, could not get that plane back to Allied airspace. So he initiated emergency exit procedures. So one by one, he helped his navigator, his bombardier, and finally his co-pilot find their way to safety. As George took those final steps to leap out of the plane and follow them, the plane exploded. George West sacrificed himself for his crew, for his country, and for his family. My grandmother was born a month later. She never knew her dad physically. She only knew him by the impact of his actions. If that never happened, my family is completely different. My grandma grew up in poverty. My great-grandmother had no money. But the impact of that choice, of the courage to take action, has rippled through the generations and into my soul. You don't have to sacrifice your life to leave a generational impact. But when you choose to embrace the investor-owner mindset and behaviors, you're going to create a generational amount of money. And if you choose to embrace the fact that I'm not doing this because I want to have the highest net worth possible, but because I want to leave the biggest impact possible, every dollar that you make and keep and turn into wealth becomes and gives you the permission to leave your own generational impact, which will ripple through the generations and into the souls of your children and your great-great-grandchildren and so forth. Shift away from owner-operator and become an owner-investor. I appreciate your time today.
Excellent work, sir. Excellent work. How good was that? That was fantastic, was it not? Yeah. All right, so one thing to do on the break. We're going to take 10 minutes. Actually, let's do till 10 after. We'll break till 12 after, or 10 after. But here's what I want you to think about from this. There's a lot that you could get lost in, right, in thinking about this. And in fact, it could be a little overwhelming, right, depending on where you're at. So what is the next team member step that you need to make? Just take some time over the break and think about that. What's the next person that I need on my team? What's the next step for me in this area? So I think this is so powerful, so important, the idea of a family office. Take some time, write that down and identify it so you can actively pursue it when you're done here. So enjoy your break. We'll be back here at 10 after, and we'll have another Justin come up here and talk. Oh, gosh.